500 years ago, in the waning years of the 16th century, English explorer William Camden was passing through the town of Appleby in northwest England. It was there that he met one Reginald Bainbridge, a local schoolteacher and keeper of local folklore. During a brief conversation, Bainbridge revealed a tale of a forgotten ancient temple nestled high up in the hills, a temple that locals apparently dared not visit. According to the teacher, in the hills above the godforsaken hamlet of Little Salkeld, there lay many massive statues that had once been flesh and blood human. It was said that a tall entity had entered the village and turned everyone into stone, including themselves. Locals avoided the site because the stones were said to move around at night, making them impossible to count. Anyone who dared accurately count them would break the spell, facing fatal consequences. This area, just east of the Lake District National Park, was at the time believed to be a supernatural and dangerous place, home to witches, warlocks and demons. Take this description by the great Joseph Palmer in 1792.
In our evening walk we passed a man who was driving his cart towards Bampton, and we asked him what names they called these stones by, and how they came here. He stared and asks,
"What don't you want to know that for?"
I dare say the answer was occasioned by evening fears, especially as he was to go by a barn that was always been reputed to be haunted by ghosts.
Of course, as any learned man of his day would do, Camden immediately packed his bags and headed to the supposed site. He described it as such.
Not far from Salkeld, there is a circle of very large stones. To my count, there are 77 in number, each 10 foot high. At the circle's entrance, there is a special stone by itself, 15 foot high, standing before them. The common and superstitious people of the village named this stone Long Meg, and the rest her daughters.
Long Meg and her daughters, usually shortened to just Long Meg, is the largest stone circle north of Avebury. Only two large stone circles survive in England, Avebury in Wiltshire and Stanton Drew in Somerset. Some people claim others are bigger, but I've done the measurements. It's wrong, don't quote that. When compared to these better known sites, however, Long Meg stands out as being particularly well preserved. The monument's peculiar name refers to its two most distinct features, a tall megalith, known as Long Meg, and an adjacent stone circle, known as the Daughters. The stone circle now consists of an incredible 66 megaliths. This is especially impressive as most large stone circles retain less than half of their original stone count. Moreover, these are megaliths in their truest sense, with even the smallest dwarfing other standing stones across the UK. While I will get into specifics on this incredibly important site, let's first dive into where it sits and why. The site sits in the Eden Valley, which follows northern England's longest river, the River Eden. Stretching 145 kilometres, I don't know how far that is in feet. The portion we will be focusing on lies just north of the town of Penrith. An area of rolling hills dominated by large waterways, the Eden Valley is home to some of Britain's most incredible prehistoric monuments. From Maberhenge to the lost Shap Avenue, see my previous video here for details. Not unlike the nearby Emont Bridge, which I should also make a video on at some point, the Long Meg area shares a topographic resemblance to Wiltshire, home of Stonehenge. Regions this flat, open and rolling were not only popular areas for agriculture, but those who lived here saw great potential for building. Here, among the winding waterways and thickets of woodland, you can find some of Britain's most immense monuments. Those found here may be considered maximised, with monuments wider, stones taller, and carvings more complex than elsewhere in Cumbria. While this is the case, I must stress that big stones don't always translate to more important monuments, and archaeologically, this area sadly remains a bit of a black hole. Carvings appear on every site in the region, almost all of which are complex. As at the nearby Grasmere, Langdale, and Emont Bridge, the carvings in the Eden Valley may have been influenced by Irish settlers, travellers, or traders during the mid to late Neolithic period, from around 3200 to 2500 BC. I have a video here if you're interested in this. However, unlike the somewhat subtle influences seen elsewhere, here the Irish influence is among the most distinct in Britain. Now, if you don't mind, I will tell you everything you'll ever need to know about Long Meg and Her Daughters, starting now. Long Meg and Her Daughters is the largest of the monuments described by Aubrey Burle as Cumbrian circles. Large, uncluttered enclosures, big enough to congregate inside. While popularly believed to be common, true stone circles like this are actually very rare, with only 5 surviving in the county of Cumbria in northwest England. These are Swinside, Castlerig, Elverplain, Long Meg, and Gamelands. There is also an outlier at the Rollright Stones in Oxfordshire, but we won't talk about that. They may represent a regional form of henge, formed using megalithic stones instead of earth. An entrance is found at Long Meg's southwestern edge, created by placing 2 stones outside the circle. It is similar in style to the entrance at Swinside, near Millom. Like Swinside, Long Meg's entrance points to the winter solstice sun, although in this case, Long Meg's entrance is aligned towards the sunset, not the sunrise. An additional entrance may also be found to the northwest, though this may be the result of misplaced stones. Immediately southwest of the entrance stands the eponymous Long Meg, a 3.6 metre or 12 foot tall standing stone. She is one of England's largest standing stones, and is likely buried as deep as she stands. The etymology of the name Long Meg is not known, but several large cannons are known to be named like that also. Therefore, the name may allude to its cannon-like shape.
Now, if you look at the stone itself, the big behemoth that it is, you'll notice very quickly that it's not like the rest of them. While these are grey, volcanic stones, Long Meg herself appears to be, well, it is red sandstone. It's not the same strata of rock, it's not even the same category of rock.
The stone is adorned with a complex array of carvings. Most of these are pecked out concentric rings, very similar to those at Copt Howe in Langdale, the site of a Neolithic axe quarry. This may date the carvings here to a similar period between 3800 and 3200 BC. These, however, represent only a small portion of the art, being less weathered and possibly more recent. Using 3D scanning technology, researchers have been able to get a better picture of the carving, revealing several spiral motifs. A 2016 excavation radiocarbon dated the earliest known presence at the site to around 5200 BC. I also just had an epiphany while editing this video, which is why I'm in my dressing gown, about the altar stone at Stonehenge, the much talked about in the news altar stone, also made of red sandstone, also placed outside the circle, aligned to the solstice. So, I don't know, maybe those who are researching Stonehenge should come up and have a look at some of the stone circles in Cumbria, the things that actually correlate to Stonehenge. People had clearly inhabited this site since the Mesolithic period. Surveys have indicated that the stone circle was once set within a Neolithic henge monument, making up an inner ring of stones running concentric with the bank. These trace elements of a lost henge are only one component of an astounding complex of prehistoric earthworks dating as far back as the early Neolithic. Firstly, there were our trace elements of a massive circular earthwork immediately north of the circle. This earthwork was over 220 metres in diameter and may have been what is colloquially known as a superhenge. Evidence for this can be seen today in the pattern of fallen stones along the perimeter of the stone circle. While most of the circle stones remain standing, those on the north side have all toppled. This is thought to be the result of the stones falling into the Superhenge's ditch, as every stone appears to have fallen outward. Additionally, the possible entrance at the northwest edge of the circle aligns with a gap in the enclosure, suggesting the two were once connected. Secondly, crop mark remains of a henge-like enclosure exist to the east of the site. This appears similar to the Milam lines.
See my video here for details on them, they are fascinating.
Those being a thin ditch with inner standing posts or stones. Such enclosures are also found in the Yorkshire Dales and East Riding in Yorkshire. Interestingly, artefactual evidence suggests strong trade ties between Neolithic Cumbria in the northwest and East Yorkshire to the east, as stone axes from the northwest, Cumbria, are found in abundance in East Riding. These earthworks appear to be older than the stone circle. The north side of the stone circle is squashed as if trying to avoid overlapping with the Superhenge, having been laid out after the earthworks were dug. This gives Long Meg its unique, long oval shape, which has in the past, by people like Alexander Thom, been misinterpreted as something intentional. We now know that's not the case. Famous antiquarian William Stukeley visited, described, and drew illustrations of Long Meg sometime around 1725. At that time, several more monuments existed to the southwest of the circle. A large mound, possibly a burial cairn, stood just east of Long Meg herself. And in the next field, beyond Long Meg, another stone circle was reported. This second circle may have been like Little Meg and Glastonbury to the northeast, where you have a bunch of curbstones surrounding a burial mound. These date to the early Bronze Age, so not really contemporary with the big stone circle, which probably dated to around 500 to 1,000 years older. Finally, like Stonehenge, Long Meg may have had an adjacent cursus monument. A cursus is an earthwork created by digging elongated trenches, forming a cigar-shaped arena in the earth. They date to the early Neolithic period, from between 3,800 to 3,200 BC, matching with the rock art on the bigger stone, and are thought to only exist in areas of most immense importance to the Neolithic Britons. Long Meg and Her Daughters may continue to hide a wealth of information until it's properly explored, but it still highlights the intersection of history, archaeology, and folklore. This big circle, with its towering megaliths and intricate carvings, is evidence of a religious belief and practice over 5,000 years ago. It is proof of their astronomical awareness and their connection to their landscape. The work of early explorers like Camden, alongside ongoing research and discoveries, should prompt us to consider how much we have left to find. These aren't just odd standing stones and enclosures, they are as important as Stonehenge or Avebury. They are as big and incredible as the Ring of Brodgar on Orkney. If there is to be a revolution in the field of prehistory studies, it is to look at what exists all over our isles and investigate just as much as we do at others. By doing so, we can begin to fill in the blanks and find out how this connects to this, and how this may be just as important as this. So, yes, if you'll excuse the rant, I want you all to go ahead and slap that like button and subscribe if you want a bit more. Sorry this video took a bit longer, if there's anyone actually waiting for it. I've been very, very busy, so, you know, the videos take the back seat, unfortunately. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe I'll throw out the next one. Maybe I'll throw out the next one a bit quicker. So, I'll see you next time, and massive thanks for watching. You've all made my life by viewing my last video. It really makes everything worth it. So, thanks.